This video is going to be all about acoustic guitars, or maybe even guitars in general, but it's also aimed at instruments as a whole. The most important thing for me when I think about instruments is how they're going to sound within the mix, not so much how they're going to sound with them just by themselves. But I still process them by themselves first. So I have a left and a right here. Let me just play you what it sounds like without the effects. Now, let me make you listen what they sound like processed. So what I did, if I remove the effects from the bus, let me solo one of these guitars first. Now, I like to EQ my guitars before they're sent to a bus, or I like to EQ them or process them soloed first. Why do I do that? Because I listen to the recording and just by themselves, there might be some resonances that I want to remove, and then I do most of my shaping afterwards. So if I just take the left guitar here, this is the EQ I did before and after. Let me put it in the center first. As you can see, it sounds way cleaner just like this. So I removed some of that boominess around 190 Hertz, and I found these resonances here that I'm going to show you. As always, the way I find resonances is not by boosting my EQ very narrow and finding it, never. I just listen to it with the EQ bypass and I try to hear those resonances before I try to find them. And if I hear them just at the plain level, that means they're piercing a bit too much, and then I dial it back a little. And I did the same thing basically for the other acoustic guitar, which is going to be the right. On this one, I just removed again some boominess around 190 Hertz, and there was only this resonance bugging because it's not the same recording. So this is what it sounds like. Again, way cleaner. And then once those two guitars are sent to a bus, I'm gonna put one left and one right. They are then received in the bus like this. So basically I cleaned them up, thinned them a little because I have many other layers. On the left and right bus, I try to glue things together. And for this part, I usually always do in reference to at least some other instruments. So let me add some more instruments. So for the processing on the bus, what I did is I added this EQ, which is basically now I'm at a stage of shaping because it's cleaned up, and I have some left channel here coming in at 249 and some 5000 here coming in at the right channel. That's basically to create more like dynamics or more width, I could say, or even depth. And then this basically I can translate to kind of warmness and presence. With the C4, I just control some of that top end that I found was a little harsh. With the Sooth, I'm basically, you know, controlling those resonances. Again, for that kind of harshness, that stringing kind of sound. With the EQ, I target some of those resonances that were popping, again for that harshness. Now this is tape emulation. I used the G37 from Waves, and I found some settings that just made it sound warmer, but then I think that added some little resonances, so then I removed them there. The SSL comp is basically to glue things together, fast release, slowish attack, and this is just to add a little more warmness. I'm going to show you the effects one by one, but before I'm just going to show you bypass before and after all these effects with the other instruments. So just with my acoustic left-right bus, I'm gonna show you what the effects did one by one now. Just to be clear, I usually would do this with the other instruments soloed at the same time because that's the most important part, but I'm gonna show you it solo just so you can hear clearly what I did. So I have here on the Pro-Q this shaping right here. If you just listen before and after. You can hear especially that 1600 hertz brings it forward a little, and the left and right makes it a bit wider. So if you listen to that like top end like stringy noise, it was just a little harsh before the C4. So I added that, and on that C4 I'm basically, if you look at my settings, I have a very fast attack and very fast release. So I'm really trying to pick those transients out of the like string noise. Then you all know what soothe does. Soothe is basically, if you don't overuse it, can just help tremendously without thinking too much. This is before and after. I think the important thing here to notice is that the sharpness is pretty high up. So I'm really trying to target like thin resonances. Then with the Pro-Q, I'm removing some of that harshness again. This one I remember did a big difference. So just listen before and after. It's basically one dip at 14,000 and one dip at 9,000. Do you see how it changes the whole balance of the sound, and it becomes more warm? And with the G37, I'm accentuating more of that warmness. Also sounds more kind of glued together. Then with the Pro-Q, I'm targeting this resonance here that was really bugging me, especially within the mix. But let me just boost it so you can hear. That specific frequency was bugging me with the other instruments in mind. Let me just actually, I'm a solo the other instruments together so you can hear what it does when I bypass that single dip. So those resonances are very important to deal with because in the whole scheme of things, it's going to make your perceived loudness way louder because you have nothing that is really out of control. Everything is controlled. And that's another kind of way I like to think about mixing. I have this kind of control of the resonances and peaks, and I have another kind of way of thinking that is more like shaping the sound. SSL comp was basically just to add some glue. It's a really good compressor for that type of effect. Let me make you listen with and without. The last thing I added was just a slight boost at 287 for some extra warmness. So this is how it sounds in the end if I just bypass the whole effects and width.